Tashdilik, welcome to Tibet This Week, our weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines. His Holiness the Dalai Lama on unified consciousness, one mind and one heart. Sikyong says Tibetans are dying a slow death. Sikyong lauds NBA star Enes freedom for advocating for human rights. Shri Bhupesh Kumar visits Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile. Former political prisoner Dhondup Wangchen creates awareness on Tibet in Europe. Kalon Norzin Dolma attends India-Tibet support groups conference. Swiss-based Tibet groups complaint against International Olympic Committee accepted for mediation process. Honorary Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche visits FPMT studio. Representative Dr. Arya attends 2nd International South Mongolian Kurultai Congress. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said religious leaders can contribute to promoting peace in the world rather than trying to propagate their faith. His Holiness the Dalai Lama had an hour-long conversation with Father Lawrence Freeman of the World Community for Christian Meditation this Wednesday. In response to Father Freeman's question on how His Holiness sees the future of religion, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said that education is of universal value, but religion is a personal and private choice. And the underlying message of all religion is love and compassion.
So, I myself, a Buddhist monk, but I never try to promote Buddhism. I always think from Buddhism how much we can contribute for peace of mind. I never sort of thinking how to propagate Buddhism. I never. So you Christian also, I think, more narrow-minded Christian, just propagate your own religion, but more wiser, how much we can contribute. Basically, human being as a secular way of thinking, like that. Okay.
Thank you. That's very very hopeful and very wise insight, I think, into the motivation of religious people.
On his official visit to Delhi, Sikyong Penpa Tsering gave an interview to the Republic TV where he mentioned the grim situation inside Tibet, which is only worsening. Sikyong urged people to be more careful by studying the reality of the situation and China's attempt on eradication of Tibetan language, which is the basis of Tibet's identity.
What is happening inside Tibet with the gridlock system, where people might wonder why, when things are happening in Uyghur or Hong Kong, why the Tibetans are not rising up. It's not that easy, because the whole gridlock system makes it very difficult for people to come out openly to express themselves. Otherwise, it's not just you who's going to suffer, but your whole family who is going to suffer because of your actions. So therefore, we have to be more careful in studying the situation of the reality of the situation inside Tibet, and then point it to the international community as to what is going on.
While he was in Delhi, Sikyong Penpa Tsering interacted with a group of more than 20 foreign affairs journalists representing various newspapers of India at India International Center. Sikyong Penpa Tsering also joined Education Kalon Tharlam Droma Changra in paying a courtesy call to the Joint Secretary of Ministry of Education, Government of India. Sikyong is currently visiting Tibetan schools, monasteries, old age homes and people in the settlements of northern India. Sikyong sent an official letter to the NBA star Enes Freedom for supporting the Tibetan freedom movement and expressing his solidarity with the sufferings of Tibetan people inside Tibet under Chinese rule.
My message to the Chinese government is free Tibet. Tibet belongs to Tibetans. I'm here to add my voice and speak out about what is happening in Tibet. Under the Chinese government's brutal rule, Tibetan people's basic rights and freedoms are non-existent. They are not allowed to study and learn their language and culture freely. They are not allowed to travel freely. They are not allowed to access information freely. The Tibetan people are not even allowed to worship freely. For more than 70 years, Tibetan monks, nuns, intellectuals, writers, poets, community leaders, activists, and many more have been detained, sent to political re-education classes, subject to torture, lengthy interrogations, and even been executed simply for exercising the freedom that you and I take for granted. There have been more than 5,000 political prisoners in Tibet the last 25 years. 5,000. Did you know that simply owning a photo of the Dalai Lama in Tibet is grounds for arrest? Even flying the Tibetan national flag could get you arrested.
Shri Bhupesh Kumar, Superintending Engineer of Indus Basin Organization, member of Inter-Ministerial Center Team for Indian Government, who was also Himachal Pradesh State Government guest, paid a visit to Tibetan Parliament-in-Exile with other dignitaries last week. Speaker Khenpo Sonam Tenpel and Deputy Speaker Dolma Tsering briefed the guest on Tibetan Parliament's evolution, changes in its composition over the years and its current compositions. Tibetan former political prisoner Dhondup Wangchen is currently on a speaking tour of 15 European countries ahead of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. He started his tour in Paris and then embarked onto Brussels, where he met journalists, politicians and individuals to narrate his personal experience of the hardships in Chinese prison and the suffering of Tibetan people inside Tibet. Dhondup Wangchen hopes his emotional experience will bring Tibet to the forefront of 2022 Beijing Olympic Games. Dhondup Wangchen's film Leaving Fear Behind was screened in Brussels. The film features interviews of Tibetans from all walks of life expressing their wishes to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama's return to Tibet during their lifetime, their views about 2008 Beijing Olympics and human rights in Tibet. Dhondup Wangchen has travelled across Tibet to record these interviews and was imprisoned for 6 years by the Chinese government as a result of the film. On Monday this week, Norzin Dolma, Minister for Department of Information and International Relations, attended the inaugural session of the international conference titled Tibet and Tibetans, Present and Future, which was organized by Bharat Tibetan Samanvay Sangh, a Tibet support group based in India. The conference brought together leading researchers, scientists, social activists, academicians and journalists across the world who are in support of Tibet to exchange and share their research experiences and to provide a platform to promote interdisciplinary approach between Indian and Tibetan educational institutions, indigenous Tibetan medicines and medicinal practices, and establishment of cultural symbiosis in India and Tibet. Following a detailed assessment of the complaints submitted by 4 Swiss-based Tibet groups earlier this year against the International Olympic Committee for violating the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development guidelines by having awarded the 2022 Winter Olympic Games to China, the Swiss National Contact Point for OECD guidelines offered to commence the mediation process between the complainants and the respondent last week. India complained that Tibet support groups indicated several sponsors, partners and suppliers of the 2022 Winter Olympics are linked directly or indirectly to the forced labor camps in East Turkestan. The complainants were Swiss Tibetan Friendship Association, Tibetan Youth Association in Europe, Tibetan Community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, and Tibetan Women's Association in Switzerland. Honorary Representative Telo Tulku Rinpoche paid a visit to the Tsatsa making studio of Moscow affiliate of the Foundation of Preservation of Mahayana Tradition. During the visit, he gave a brief talk and offered prayers along with the members who were volunteering to make the Tsatsa to be distributed across Buddhist regions of the Russian Federation. Tsatsa making is a form of traditional Buddhist art that originated in India many centuries ago. Today, it is found widely in the Tibetan and Himalayan region as well as Mongolia and Russia. The Office of Tibet Japan's representative Dr. Arya attended the second International South Mongolian Kurultai Congress held in Tokyo on Sunday last week. He read Sikyong Penpa Tsering's message in English and Japanese translation at the conference hall and greeted and congratulated the organizers for the conference. So much for this week. See you next time and have a great weekend.